Y'all know I always be struggling to remember what to say. So I keep saying I'm gonna do it, and here I am finally doing it. Go ahead and follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/ at two scrippers one poll. Join us on Patreon for exclusive behind the scenes footage of full episodes as well as poll play and 2 new segments, Toy Talk and Tales of a Sensual Dom. That's patreon.com/ two scrippers one poll. Join us on Instagram at two scrippers one poll and two scrippers one poll the pod, because sometimes Instagram be hating. And finally, don't forget to rack up all the toys to bust maximum nuts. Head on over to Balesa and use code BB2S1P nuts. Now let's get into some shit this week. Let me put my headphones in. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Two Scrippers One Poll. I'm here with my friend Dark Matter.
What's going on, yo? It's your boy.
Let me see. I don't know if it got it on the audio, so you could say it again.
What's going on? It's your boy Dark Matter.
All right. So
You can hear me?
Yeah. Okay. So we came together to talk about Subspace. We did a scene together. That was my first time topping.
It was my first time bottoming, yeah.
As for just in general or for a film?
Yeah, in general.
Oh.
I guess not really. I mean, I feel like you get creative in the bedroom when you're dating. But in an intentional way, yeah, probably the first time.
Yeah, I've realized that a lot of the stuff that I've been learning in kink are just things that I've been doing beforehand. I just didn't realize, but that was my first time topping in the intentional sense. Besides my cousin, but she doesn't really count. But we got here because you had mentioned the Subspace thing, and so then I looked it up and I was interested, and then I was like, let's have a conversation. So let me give y'all the definition of Subspace. I sent the sources to myself. Try to be on top of things. Where is it? Okay. So I looked at 2 different articles. The first one, and I'll put them in the show notes. But essentially what Subspace is it's similar to disassociation, but in a more positive way. And it's an out-of-body experience that kind of disconnects you from reality, and most bottoms or submissive types will say that they have a euphoric or a high feeling from it. And for me, what?
No, it was just.
So for me, I know after I read that, because you mentioned it, and I was like, I'm not familiar. So I Googled it, and then the first article that I read had also talked about you have the subspace, but you also have the top space. And the idea of that you're in this moment, in this scene, and you are aware of what's going on around you, but you're not at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's it's like when you're playing a video game and you're really into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At some point, you're so invested in the video game that you're not necessarily paying attention to the actual room environment that you're in.
Yeah.
It's just you and the screen. So now you're most of your awareness and consciousness is just limited to the space of the screen in which you're playing.
Yeah.
And occasionally your hands if you gotta.
Yeah. For me, so my first scene was at the Cuddle Kink and Touch in June that I was telling you about. Shout out to Jax. Beautiful space that you're creating. And I did a scene with Sir Merciful, and I was first I was a voyeur in the space, just kind of watching everything go on, because that was really my first kink event.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't familiar with well, it was technically my second, but that was like my first dive in, and all the things are happening. So I was watching other people in scenes, and I'm a very curious spirit, so I was like, ooh, me next. And I love the flogger. I've always loved that. So he had invited me to sit on like the massage table, whatever it's called. And then I just went on in my own way, and I could tell that he was hitting me with a flogger like device, but in my head I had associated it with a car wash, and I had like kind of just checked out, and I was focused more on my breathing, and I was aware that there were people in the space, but in that moment I was just like, I was picturing myself in a car wash, which is weird to say. And I also kind of followed that thought, because I was like, why am I thinking of a car wash right now while I'm getting flogged in the middle of a restaurant?
Were you on psychedelics?
No.
No. It's like that's pretty interesting, because I'm visualizing what you're saying, and it sounds mad funny, because like you were imagining yourself as a car.
Not necessarily. I was imagining myself in my car in a car wash, because the sounds and like the flogger, at least the floggers that I have, they have more leathery, I guess, tendrils, and so it reminds me of that. In a car wash, sitting in a car wash is comforting, and I was in like a comforting moment. And then that week for me was just really anxiety filled, and actually before that moment I had got into a debacle of some sort with one of the employees there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was like coming down from that high negative energy and focusing on my breathing in that moment. And then I think it was just like one of the slaps, it reminded me of the sound of the car wash thing hitting the car, and then I just couldn't disassociate from that feeling. But overall it was like a great
feeling. So you were feeling, but you was feeling the impact. Were you, when you was imagining the car wash, was the feeling of the impact involved in that space, or you wasn't even paying attention to like the sensations of your body?
I was paying attention to the sensations. It just like, I think that one sound just put that visualization in my head, and that was more so what I was visualizing, but I was still in tune with like the impact and how things were feeling, because then he started switching it up and he was using like scratching devices and other things, so it put me in the space for visualization purposes, but everything else I was still coherent.
Okay. That's like a interesting experience. So then, I think when I think about that, is like you said, disassociation is like a root fundamental aspect of subspace, right? I think that's important to highlight, because there is like a escapism aspect, and that's where the disassociation comes into play.
Yeah.
Well, what came to mind when you were describing the scene that you just were talking about is like, you imagine like a car wash, and then you got like that song, like, you remind me of a Jeep, like. So I was just like, that is hilariously sexy, to say the least. But
so for our scene, how was that for you?
Well, for me, well, we met at the at Jackson's Cuddle and Munch event.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, like, a Munch is like just a low key networking event for people that,
it's like-minded kinky people, but there's not really kinky action going on. It's like in between a Munch, but the Cuddle King Touch is like in between a Munch and a like a play party. It's not goes all the way to the extents, but there are some like low. I'm blank on what I really want to say, but I'm just gonna say like low intensity scenes.
Yeah, I think it was just more. Yeah, it was a cool vibe, and uh, so I had seen you earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
and she had self tied ropes
Mm.
on her body, and I thought that was cool. And then you were just working with your ropes, so I knew at some point I wanted to like speak to you,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on, opportunity arose to speak to you, and I was just curious from a space of like I never really engaged in like a role play scene
Mm-hmm.
or done anything with role play with myself, let alone with someone else.
Yeah.
So I just was curious, and I didn't really see other like men interested in like I guess the role play, but I was like, I wonder why. So, um, yeah, we spoke, and then I was like, can you tie me up? And what would you say?
Yeah, I had definitely saw you in the vicinity when I was doing like the self tie, and I was like kind of in and out of the conversation. So I heard you, and I think her name was Joy, and somebody else were like just talking about rope play, and you were very energetic. I love that. And so then I don't really remember the moment where we actually like started talking, but I do remember you saying like, "Oh, can you tie me up?" So I was like, "Okay, I don't really know what I'm doing just yet, but I'll do something."
Yeah.
Um, that's like another thing that I'm interested in, like rope play, wax play, electro play, fire play, like all the things. But I also understand that it's like a lot deeper than just tying somebody up. Like there's certain things that you have to know how to do or how to undo, and know about a person before you just start doing things. Like it's a lot deeper than it is just sexy. So that's for me was like I'm interested in doing this, but I don't really know if I'll be able to meet your needs because I'm not comfortable in my knowledge in the moment.
Yeah, I had no expectations. I don't know. She gave me the Kuta Kente with care. It was tied very nicely.
Thank you.
But yeah, she just pretty much tied my wrist up like about 10 different ways together.
I was just tying and looping, and I was like,
She tied all the rope on my wrist. I was like, rah. But it was cool. I mean, listen, we live in a world where like last time my wrist was like this close and I couldn't move them. It was like metal and not rope, you know what I'm saying? So and it was right, it felt uncomfortable, but this felt comfortable. I was like, oh, okay.
It's interesting you say that because I was just thinking about for a long time I didn't necessarily care to be restrained, but that's because growing up I always heard about like the handcuffs in the bedroom, and I've had an aversion to handcuffs. And so then when I started, learning more about rope bondage and then different types of cuffs, I started getting a little bit more into it. I don't know. They know these mics is all crazy. The camera done crooked. Y'all get what the fuck I give y'all. It's all type. We just do whatever over here. But yeah, for me, for a very long time, I strayed away from restraints because the handcuffs.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
And so now, especially now that I'm like learning all that, I learned how to do a double column and a single column, and then I'm getting ready to learn a chest harness. So I'm just having a ball over here.
Yeah, I think I want to explore that. So yeah, you tied my joint up, and then I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go walk around and just do my thing like that. And it was interesting, like the intention that I was getting from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
you were getting attention? Because I had stepped outside at that moment.
I feel like people were just like, hey, he's going for it. Like it's like more. It's like when you see like like let's say you was at a bar with like the mechanical bull,
Mhm.
and then nobody's really messing with it,
Mm.
and then just one person just goes and is on the mechanical bull, and it's like, oh wow, he's
Yeah.
brave, go 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 go, like that, like you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But then maybe old, but then there were people in the bar restaurant that wasn't, that was just there for the bar restaurant, not for the cuddle event.
Yeah.
So they was just like, what? And I had a big old smile on my face.
You did.
And I was just like, hey. And I was trying to get a drink and everything. And it was cool. But then you also like had the flogger, and I was like, oh yeah, flog me while I'm tied up. I can't do nothing about it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I like the feeling of that. I think like I don't got like one of those like cartoon kind of butts, you know what I'm saying? I like I got like it's kind of supple, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
There's some plumpness to it. Yeah.
I gotta ask.
There were some angles. I was doing a figure eight.
You gotta hit them angles. You gotta hit them angles. Shout out to Drake. Shout out to Drake. But yeah. So it felt nice. Like the flog is like leather strips.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like a cheerleading pom pom, but like it's leather. That's how I look at it. So it's
Never
just
thought
like,
about that, and I used to be a cheerleader.
Like if you cut a cheerleader pom pom in half and then you turn it into like leather strips.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you was just like having a ball.
I was very nervous at first because like I said, I hadn't like, and that was my first time intentionally flogging someone. Like my friend Deshawn, who was there, she had the dreads with the blue in it. Like we went to a play party once, and at the last Cuddle King Touch, like I've jokingly just kind of here or there, but that was the first time focusing on that. And then Merciful was there, and he was kind of giving me guys like, oh, do the figure eight or do this, and when he was like, spread your legs, and I did it that way. So that I started feeling myself in the moment. I was like, ooh. And then the mirror. I'm like really big on mirrors. I fucking love mirrors.
Yeah, that part was kind of intense.
Yeah.
And I think it was like that point where I could say, then I seen the definition of subspace, and I was like, oh yeah, cause I think I was just like, ooh, 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 and it was like, no, we want to hear you moan. Stop sounding like a Care Bear.
Care Bear is crazy.
I was like, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh. I was like, wait, oh yeah, word, breathe my belly. Yeah. Oh. Oh. So it's funny when you talk about the breathing in the scene that you were talking about earlier. But yeah, at that point I was like, oh yeah.
And I could see that
really
like that switch in your eyes as well. So when the first article that I had looked up, when you had mentioned it to me, it was talking about that point of where you start to dissociate, and then they also brought up where is it? Top space.
Yeah.
And it's still a type of euphoria, but whereas like the sub is disassociating, the top is aware of what's going on, but they still have to like remain in the scene to be able, because like once you reach a certain point in subspace, you're not really necessarily like, it's not 100% that you're going to continue to make decisions from whatever was negotiated before. You're in this space of like, maybe your pain tolerance has heightened, so you're saying like, hit me more, when really normally you wouldn't even want that. So as a top,
you just want more of the energy,
yeah,
and the chemical things going on in your body to like increase.
Yeah.
You want that to increase, but you don't, but like how I feel about it is like, you know how you have like how the brain is like you have the prefrontal cortex, and then you have more of this part here like the limbic system in the back of your head, right? And like the limbic system is more like the primitive aspects of your brain.
Yeah.
And then the prefrontal cortex is more of like um is more of like how you like reason and logic and stuff like that, critical thinking. So sometimes when you go have an intense experience, it like overrides your executive functioning, and then now you just operating just purely off of like instinct and like intuition and just like primitive
like fight or flight,
primitive human nature. No, just even human nature, because like like if you in a going through a trauma response, or you going through some and you now you in that kind of mode, now you just like, all right, like sometimes you have to have enough presence of mind where you don't completely shut off your prefrontal cortex, and that takes like mindfulness, breathing, and things like that. But if you now on that, then you just pretty much operating. But I feel like that's the same with like a subspace, because then you're not primitive way of thinking, and it's like harder, is more like intense, like but I think I was like, oh snap, and then I look and I was like, oh, it's a mirror. Oh, I'm looking at myself. Wait, whoa. And it is kind of like when you're tripping on shrooms and you're like, oh, like I'm actually here.
I haven't had a crazy trip on shrooms.
Yeah, I've done an eighth on shrooms, maybe even more, but a few times. But yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, I'm actually here. Like I'm actually whoa.
Yeah.
There's a mirror, and then I'm like, oh wait, she's here too. She's doing this to me. What? Like she's doing to me. What the? And then I'm looking at her, and then you see me looking at you in the mirror, and then like our eyes lock in that way, and it is kind of trippy because it's like a mirror.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I could see what she's doing.
Oh, so you could see me.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So that's kind of what got me into the subspace more, because then I was into the mirror and not into like what was going on.
So it was almost like you were behind the mirror watching it.
The mirror became a TV screen of reality.
Wow, that is trippy.
The mirror literally became a TV screen of reality. Because it's like as close as you could get to seeing yourself in the third person. But it is kind of like an outer body experience, because at that point my only concern was like the mirror. Like again, like a video game. Like sometimes when you really need to get a video game and it's like an intense level and you have to really think through and concentrate on achieving that like end result or whatever in the video game. So now before you was playing the game, you just like chilling, like you see your phone, like, but okay, blah, 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 blah. You know you in the living room chilling or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then at some point it gets really intense. Like let's say you're playing an NBA 2K video game, like, and you're in season mode and it's the finals and you're fourth quarter. At some point, whatever's going on the phone, nothing that can matter.
Yeah.
It's just you and like the screen, and so it was like an intense focus. But then we locked eyes, and then that was like kind of crazy, because then I was like, oh, but then it's like almost like a communication with your eyes. So like when people say like telepathy is like a fictional, I disbelieve that, because like 70% of communication is nonverbal to begin with. So yeah, I was just like kind of looking at you in a way like I'm into it, like I'm into it, like think also too, from like a man perspective, like if I were to like openly talk about this with like men that I know in my life, men that I grew up with,
Yeah.
they'd be like, "You mad weird? Like what? Like why
Yeah.
you get tied up?" But then, so I talked to my uncle about it, right?
Mhm.
About like some experiences I had besides that.
Yeah.
But I talk about that in particular. He was like you weird.
Mm.
But um, I was like, you never thought about this, uncle, before? Now he's a father. He lives with his girlfriend and he has his family.
Yeah.
So he not on that type of time right now.
Yeah.
He's like the OG saying, "Yo, live your life," so that when you get to his stage he's at, you're not like distracted, right?
Yeah.
But I said, "Yo, what's up? Like, you never wanted, like," and he's like, I always think about being with a woman, right? And he could completely like let go of being dominant,
Mhm.
because he's used to being dominant in the bedroom, and most of my the men that I know, or like, they usually tend to want to be dominant.
Mhm.
And if you're submissive, it's implied that like, oh, you probably get pegged too, and you're gay or you're bi, but like for like straight men, like the realm of being submissive, like it is like that's like not negotiable
Yeah.
for like a lot of men if they're straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I was trying to explain to my uncle that like, and there's still that subconscious desire to like not be, to like not have this a certain responsibility and pressure and leadership that comes with being like dominant, period.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes he was like, I just want to be told what to do. Like, he's usually telling what to do, orchestrating.
Yeah.
Because he knows what he likes and he knows how to get partners like where they need to go, like,
Yeah.
in his mind, right? And a lot of men think like that in their mind, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes they just want to like take the load off, metaphorically speaking, but just only in the bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you're not about to tell me what to do.
And I think
on my day to day, like as a man.
what I've
but just in the
gotten
bedroom, I don't.
in research, like from research that I've done, that is what I don't. For me personally, like I am very dominant in my like vanilla life, day to day life, not because I want to be, but because I have to be. I'm put in positions, and a lot of the time it's because I put myself in those positions because I'd rather just do it myself than have somebody else do it. But for the most part, I am a more dominant person. So in the bedroom, I am more submissive.
Mm-hmm.
And so overall, well, I'm exploring like the more dominant side of myself now in kink. So I would consider myself switch, but more dominant type. That's the part that I'm like exploring. And I am what am I trying to say? Like, I'm much more selective in who I'm submissive to.
Yeah, I feel like that's like, I think human nature, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to just sign up for anything.
Yeah. But with that also being said, like, I think that in order for me to feel comfortable dominating someone as well, there has to be that same kind of like comfort level. And so I thank you for approaching me very kindly, and just energetically. Like, you came with an energy and a spirit that was like, oh yeah, I would actually like to try this with this person, even though that was our very first interaction.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it too. I was like, I like a little nervous because like I was like I don't know what's gonna happen. But yeah, I think it was cool. I think sometimes people dismiss like the power, inherent power in like submission.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think people always try to like avoid submitting
Mm-hmm.
or surrendering to something, whether it's be in like the lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
or even in like spirituality or religion. Like you go into church and they tell you submit and you resisting the like it's my flesh, it's like my flesh. But then now you in the world,
Yeah.
and you still have a resistance to submission. So it's like, what we doing here, you know? But I think there's a certain power that comes in that, at least because, um,
A certain power that comes in submission.
yeah, because I think on my research that I've been doing recently, like there's a philosophy in the lifestyle that a sub's needs come before the dom's like desires,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's what I was gonna say. Like
And
that.
not a lot of people operate like that in real life, though.
Yeah. So as a top, and I think that goes back to even top space of like, you have to be aware of what's going on because this person is now essentially under your care. And so even though I am the dominant, it is still my job to make sure that I'm meeting your needs and your wants and not pushing you in a space that you don't want to be. Like I'm still protecting you in a sense. And there's a lot more power in submission than people think that there is.
I like the power exchange aspect of. I like being. I like the like women who know what they like and want and are not. There isn't any like shame around being able to like express that to me, for either me or her, and it's in a way where it's like, yeah, lead this scene. It's interesting. One, because it's interesting. Two, because it's informative. You know.
Yeah.
And then I think what it does, it like inflames my more like dominant side.
In what way?
Of like, you ever watch, X-Men? You know, like the one X-Men Bishop, and he had to probably like take the energy, like absorb it, and then just like. It's more like that. I'm just like absorbing that, and it's like, oh. But then if the power exchange, and it's not like almost like it's not like a retribution or like revenge. It's just more like oh, it's like a relay race almost, where you see like even the one like classic one where with the relay race to Jamaica and Usain Bolt was the final dude. It's like all the Jamaican runners was fast. They catch the baton, boom. It's like, oh, word, you taking it to this speed and we in front of them like that, and then Usain Bolt catch the. Oh, now that's the power exchange. Now you give me the baton, because now it's like, your energy and then like my energy, and then like.
Yeah.
But then also it's like, I don't know, if it's like a good amount of trust, and you can, and like people's like limits and preferences and things like that.
That's why negotiations are important, y'all. Don't just be doing shit. Talk about it first. Make sure everybody's.
Unless you're in like a munch or an environment where it's like. Understood. But shout out to all the kinksters out there, the people out there that curate like safe spaces for people to just mingle, get to know each other, no pressure, and then it's dope. And,
it really is.
And it's like in the open, just chilling, like and Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, negotiation is important.
Yes.
That'd be a good scene, like if I like pretended I was like Samuel Jackson in Negotiator, and then you were like, um, a terrorist, that like had like a crazy like crime syndicate, something like that, like Charlize Theron in Fast Furious franchise, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and you got like mad hostages and shit, right?
Okay.
And like they're like diplomats, like of like international diplomats, like important people. Maybe Bill Gates or something. I don't know. You got somebody for your house, and it's my duty, Department of State, to like negotiate.
I love your imagination.
To negotiate you bringing these hostages home. And this is like an all-star cast of hostages, everywhere from like the current president of South Africa to Brittany Griner.
Yeah.
And Charles Barkley.
It's okay.
Kiki Palmer too.
Oh, of course. And Usher. We can't forget Usher.
You got Usher and Kiki. We got Charlamagne the God too.
Okay.
Yeah, all the important black people hostage. Oprah.
Oprah hostage is crazy.
Stedman is on my neck right now. So we gotta negotiate.
Yeah.
And then it's like a round of negotiations. And you got your things that you want to see happen. And I'm like, look like a target, like a worthy target and then I have to negotiate my way through accomplishing several rounds of diplomatic negotiation and scenes until you feel satisfied to bring back these U.S. hostages, these international hostages.
Wow, let's make it happen.
I just off the cuff.
I love it. I love it. Well. Yeah. I don't need to say it on audio because actually I just did. I finally did it, y'all. This goes on YouTube. This goes on the audio. But I finally did the little clip. So y'all be safe. Make good choices. Yes, I gotta start it over so that the audio can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. It's your boy, the infamous Dark Matter. Cause I'm dark, I'm out of this world, and I know I matter. You can find me on Instagram at DKMTR Dark Matter, as it sounds. You already know.
Yes.
Chill.